What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Live from Redhook here at the Function House. I'm Mike Gentile, along here with Anthony Vitale. And tonight our special guest is DJ M.O.S. What's up, man?
What up? What's
going
What's going on,
man?
guys?
Welcome down.
Thanks for having me.
We're really lucky to have him here. You know, this guy moved to LA now.
Yeah, it was really funny that you hit me up and I happened to be in town. So yeah.
That was
perfect.
good.
It was perfect, you know?
That's the life of a superstar DJ.
I'm not a superstar. I'm just like, just a regular guy.
He's a humble. Just
Just a regular dude.
Well, we figured that we would welcome you proper, Italian style, with a little antipasto.
Italian food is literally my favorite food next to French food. So like
This guy's heavy in the kitchen. Is
That-
it you or Kiss that's in the kitchen?
No, I'm the cook. I'm the
Yeah?
cook. Like my mom, my family, all the women in my family cook, and my mom, and my grandmother's actually like a legendary cook.
Yeah.
So like I kind of learned from my mom and my grandmother. So that's kind of like why I cook. And I love food.
So what's your specialty dish?
I don't really have a specialty, but if I would say there's one thing I'm good at, I can really cook a good steak.
Yeah.
So when you want to impress the wife, you're
Oh yeah, steak, truffle mac and cheese, barbecue chicken, I have a couple recipes that are good.
Okay.
But I'm good at following recipes. Like I can learn. I'm a quick learner.
Okay.
You follow any cookbooks?
You know what? I would go online and look at like Food Network and watch things, but I kind of do things off the fly.
Yeah.
Like in my mind, I'm like, oh, I feel like eating shrimp tonight. What do I want to? Okay, shrimp and pasta. Cool. I'll just make up some shit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, nobody made this. This is from Aperture. This is from a restaurant in over here in Brooklyn.
Right.
So
On Court Street.
friend of ours. He
No, it's
sent
good.
it over for you.
We've been going in on the prosciutto and all that. So yeah, it's perfect, man.
Yes. When you say prosciutto, you need to.
Prosciutto.
You got to do it with the fingers, you
Yeah,
know.
prosciutto. I can't do it.
Let's talk about where you came from. Where are you from, and how did you get into this whole music industry?
All right, so I was born in Brooklyn. I grew up for part of my life in Queens, outside Jamaica, Queens.
What part of Brooklyn were you born in?
I was in Brooklyn Hospital. I don't even know the Brooklyn Jewish. I was born in Brooklyn Jewish Hospital. No, it's closed down now. I actually went to go by the hospital one day when I moved back to Brooklyn. My mom said it was closed down. So Southside Jamaica, Queens, 161st Street, Rochdale area. I actually grew up. 50 Cent lived across the street from me.
Any run-ins with him?
Yeah, when I was a kid, he was years older than me,
Yeah.
But he was always kind of like the bully on the block.
Okay.
That's safe to say that. I'm just not sure he'll be offended by me saying that.
I don't think he'd be offended.
But yeah, I definitely had.
You're plugging him right now, so.
No, he's the man. I love 50. He's the man,
Yeah.
But just remember him as Curtis back in the day,
Yeah.
So anyway, so we lived there for a while, then moved to White Plains, Westchester, and I started playing instruments when I was 5 or 6. Started playing piano. Did saxophone for 10 years, played in jazz bands. I actually taught saxophone at band camp, went to band camp, like a geek, I was band geek.
I took sax in 7th grade.
You did?
Yeah.
I played the trombone.
You played trombone?
I did,
Rusty
yeah.
trombone.
Yeah, so I played sax for a minute, the rusty trombone.
Yeah, still play.
Pause. So I did that for 10 years, and then I started DJing around that time. I was 14, 15 years old, and I don't know, you know what it is? I always was attracted to music. I loved music, so DJing was perfect for me.
Yeah.
I got a chance to play the records that I loved, and I grew up listening to Funkmaster Flex, Kid Capri, Red Alert, those guys.
So what gave you the bug where you knew, yo, I like this DJ game, I want to get involved in it? What sort of inspired you to do that?
Well,
What
when I
DJs
started
were you
DJing, you said what?
What DJs were you inspired by?
Well, honestly, the first DJ I was inspired by was Funkmaster Flex. You remember back in the 90s, Flex was it.
He was the man.
Tunnel.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he would come on the radio on Mondays and Tuesdays and talk about the tunnel. He called it the Mecca. So I remember hearing it. He would play all the records he would play at the Mecca. So I remember he DJ'd his radio show the way he would DJ at clubs. So I would literally sit there and just go try to buy those records and mimic what he was doing.
Beach Street, no?
Yeah, but I never thought of it as me DJing as a profession. To me, it was more this is some cool shit to do. Let me just try to do this.
It was a hobby.
Yeah, exactly. I was DJing for my little brother and sister in my room with a black light. I would occasionally do a friend's house party, whatever.
Yep.
So then I went to college, fast forward. Wasn't DJing while I was in college 4 years, and I came back and I started interning at Electra Records. And I remember Mark Ronson was one of the artists. And I was kind of struggling to make money, and I was interning for free. So I said, let me try DJing again on the side. I was doing it, and I remember started going to Mark's parties, and I started seeing celebrities, and he's playing like hip hop and like classics and rock, and I was like, yo, this dude's killing it. I was like, this is dope. And then I asked the guy I was working for, I was like, yeah, how much is he making? And he was like, yeah, he's making about $2,000 a night.
Back then, that was a
I was like, what the fuck? I was
like,
okay,
I'm in the
cool.
wrong business.
I was like, time the fuck out.
That was in the late 90s, right?
This was like 2001. This is kind of like when Mark kind of started transitioning into a producer, you know? This was like the year where he was nominated for that record with Nikki Costa for MTV, I think it was MTV Award or a Grammy that year. So he was like, that's his first album. So after that, like I started, you know, doing local clubs in the city, and I was also opening for Sus One.
Okay.
So Sus One, who's Power 106, shout out to the homie Sus One. Sus One grew up in my area, so I started like opening for him in like Club Hollywood in New Rochelle and stuff like that. So that's kind of like was my intro into doing clubs. But then once I met Mark and started like really hanging out in the downtown scene, I was like, yo, this is where I want to play.
Yeah.
So the Elektra internship was sort of like
that was a springboard to everything.
That was like a big stepping stone.
Like literally, because I worked in rap promotions, and I remember we had Fab, Little Mo had that record. What's it called? Superwoman, and then the other joint that was really big. So like all the DJs from, like this is back in the day when you needed a record, you had to go to a label.
Yep.
So if you're from if you Felly Fell from LA, you Clinton Sparks from Boston, you Mauricio from Miami, you got to fly to New York to get the exclusive. Yep. Or they're going to mail it to you. So I was the person who would have to either mail those guys the records or show up to the clubs and service dudes.
So like, you're doing a lot of swaps too, because I interned at a record label one time.
No, yeah.
So you constantly doing swaps
with
other labels and
stuff
stuff
like
that.
So like, you know, when, like I remember when Crazy in Love came out and that was like the hot shit. And like the day, you know, back in the day you'd have, if Crazy in Love came out or In the Club, you had to have it.
Yeah, of course.
Or you were just whack. Yeah. So like I would literally go to Jive or go to Columbia, sit in the lobby and wait for my boy who's interning there and be like, yo, I'll trade you this Missy record for Crazy in Love. And they would give me, because you know, they're not giving interns copies, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So, yeah, working at the record label definitely helped springboard my career because I met so many contacts back then. Like everybody I interned with back then now was like managing some artists.
See, it wasn't easy getting up on the labels though. I was never up in the labels. Like Atlantic, I was at because I had my friend over there, but it wasn't easy just to walk into any label.
You couldn't walk into labels because you needed a pass or you need to know somebody in there that's going to let you up. And like, there's only a limited copy of records. Yep. So you're not.
And so many DJs would call the label.
Oh my God.
Because I remember
my job.
that, yeah.
That was my job, to fill calls.
You
and to call dudes but the thing is, I would call dudes that I thought were dope. I'd go out, because I was hanging out in the club, so I'd call like Rock the Con and be like, yo, who the fuck is this? I'm like, it's DJ M.O.S, Masood, Elektra. We have this new Hustle Child record. Click.
Or how about though when like a real famous DJ would call? You'd be like, oh my God, like I remember working at Epic as an intern, and like Tony Humphries called. I'm like, holy shit, Tony Humphries is on the phone, you know? Like being blown away by that.
All the big DJs I remember being real cool. Like all the real big DJs, you know? I mean, like, again, most DJs aren't assholes, like, if you're giving them free records.
Yeah, they'll take them.
Yeah, you know? It was all about that promo.
It's totally different nowadays. Nowadays, everybody has their, like, little site they go to and download music, so it's not really exclusive, you know?
Yep.
No. And all the remixes, there's like 20, 30 remixes of every track that comes out now.
Every 5 minutes is a new remix.
Yeah.
Crazy.
What about production? You do any production?
Yeah, I started producing 5 years ago. I mean, to me, production is it's a tough thing because, like, you know, I love so many different genres of music.
I know.
It's like every day I'm making something totally different, you know? So, like, I'm kind of trying to find a place for all the stuff I've made over the years. But, yeah, I love it.
So what is your favorite genre of music to DJ?
You know, it changes every week. Some weeks I love playing trap. Some weeks I love playing classics. Some weeks I love playing house. I mean, if there was one genre I'd say that I love playing, it would be like classic hip-hop, classic soul breaks.
Well, you know, with the club life and then the event life that you've been doing, you know, you can't play some of these trap records at these events that you do.
Well, that's the beauty of my career. Like, I've been able to kind of carve out a niche where I can play all the commercial stuff at like Avenue or fucking One Oak or Vegas, whatever, and then I could go do at a private event for Puff and play all old school on that. You know?
So talk about a little bit what goes into like doing these events. Like, do you sit and like you making playlists, like say that event you did for Puffy, the Halloween party at Marquee, I see.
Right.
Like, are you sitting and you're like, okay, Puffy's gonna be there, this guy's gonna be here? Are you like putting folders together because you know the people that?
You know what? For most like, okay, for instance, the Puff event, Halloween. I did this Halloween Emperor's Ball at Marquee. For that event, like, for the most part, I've done Marquee a ton of times. I've done big rooms a ton of times, live and all that. So like, I don't really need to prepare for that. I already know what I'm gonna play in my mind. And then also because it's Puff, like I grew up listening to Puff. I grew up studying Bad Boy. I have all the samples. Like literally, I could run the shit off.
Yeah.
Like that. So I don't really need to prepare for that. If I'm doing a party, like let's say I remember I used to DJ this club called Door, which was the old Suede, where one night Ron Burkle decided, yo, it's all rock and roll tonight. And from now on, rock and roll. And like I had to play from 10 o'clock to whatever the fuck they wanted to leave. And like, so I played 10 to 6, all rock.
Right.
And not even like 80s, like Guns N' Roses rock. I'm talking about like, you know.
Classic rock.
Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
70s shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let it
So how did you prepare yourself for that?
Like literally you just gotta go back and just start researching. I mean, we all have our favorite records. So like I have my favorite Rolling Stones records, my favorite Leonard Skinner records, my favorite Neil Young records. So I go there and then I just start researching further into what was popping, and I started hanging out at rock clubs.
Yeah. Like
I'd go to what's the spot that Paul 70 used to work?
The Beatrice Inn.
Beatrice Inn, and go to those places, and I would go hang out and started learning what was hot, and then after a while I was able to play rock through it.
So now that makes you so much more versatile than say the next guy.
Well, I think that's the problem with a lot of DJs today is that you need to do your own research.
I agree.
There's tons of places and ways to research. Like I remember, like when we have to like collect vinyl, you'd have to go to the whatever record store and ask the guy who's there, like, yo, what's popping?
I remember sitting there and listening to just listening to him play records, and I'm like, yo, I need that.
Yeah, like I need that. Or you walk in, they know you, be like, yo, you need this record. You gotta get this. Like,
or you're just pulling stuff off, and they had like little stations set up where you'd go listen to the record.
Right, I would live in like Vinyl
Soul.
Mania and like House of Oldies and stuff, and the guy would pull out like Wham and like all these different joints, So nowadays it's a lot easier. Once things became digital, it's like a person like me who loves to consume music is just it was like literally I was like, really? You can Google a list of the top 1,000 classic rock records and like they're right there for you? Perfect.
I know.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
And I can just download them at my house. I don't have to leave the house to go drive and find them. Perfect.
Yeah, it's the same thing like if you had to do like an 80s party. I mean, we all know the 80s music, right? But you don't play it all the time. So then it's like you got to do an 80s party. Yeah.
No, but you can sit and literally, like, I've had guys who've, like, other DJs call me up and be like, young guys, like, yo, I got to do this wedding. I need, like, 80s music. Can you help me out? And I'd be like,
just go online.
Fuck you, dude. Like, don't call me about this. This is the stupidest. I'd be like, yo, this is the dumbest thing you could ever ask me. It's Google. It's there for you. It's there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can just Google this shit and download it from iTunes.
Yep.
Your iTunes playlist dedicated to that.
Now, even having access to the Google and being able to download that music, you still need to know how to play it.
Well, yeah, you have to have appreciation.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I feel like, me being like, coming up during that era, I feel like we have a certain idea of what's hot and appreciation for it, so we play it differently. But with the right amount of, certain amount of effort, you can do it too.
Yeah, yeah, of course. But I think it's also very important coming up from the old school and making yourself knowledgeable on that music, where a lot of the DJs of today, like the young guys, are not putting in that time and the research.
I don't want to make this into kind of like
I know where you're going.
Fuck Serato, like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, if you
no,
you start DJing in 2005, you suck. Like, no, that's not what I'm
we're
saying.
not saying it about that.
Well,
I just think
there's a lot of good DJs like since Serato. I mean,
no, I think there were a ton of guys who came up in the Serato era who were amazing.
Yeah, like they took
real
the technology.
talk. There's a
really
ton of guys who came up in the Serato era who were dope. But I feel like the Serato era has just given birth to laziness when it comes to the art, because they don't really look at it as an art. It's like, all right, fuck it, I just download a playlist and just play whatever the top 40 joints are. And then you get hired to do something other than your local club with local 18-year-olds, and it's like, fuck, what do I do?
Right.
And you end up bombing. You're like, why? Why? Because, dude, you didn't put in the time.
They didn't put the same work in that you would.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't hate on the technology game.
It's like a cook. I could cook a burger.
Right.
Any asshole could cook a burger. You know what I'm saying? But you get hired to cater an event. It's like, oh shit, I just can't do burgers tonight. I gotta like learn how to.
You gotta learn how to cook.
You know, after presentation, there's all these different things that are part of me being a good chef.
Yeah,
you know?
of course.
Well, I think, as a DJ, you always have to be a student of the game.
Exactly.
Right? So you always have to be educating yourself.
And that's what I respect. When I see that you're hungry and actually a student of the game, then I'm like, all right, cool. I'll help you out the way I can, however I can, you know. But most guys I find aren't battle like that.
So how many days a week or hours a day do you spend just like listening to music, downloading music, getting music, putting it together? Like how are you able to sort of put it all together? Because sometimes it becomes overwhelming with all the new music that's coming out, all the different genres that are out there, all the different types of parties that you play. How do you balance that?
It's interesting. It's become such a part of my day that I can't really tell you how many hours. It's literally, I could say like, okay, it's 10 hours a day. It probably is 10 hours a day. I'm on my laptop literally all day. Like I could be sending emails, same time I have iTunes playing, same time I have direct music service or track source open, and I'm going through records, and I do that literally all day. I mean, back in the day, when I first got my laptops, I was literally on LimeWire and Kazaa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All day. Or like burning CDs or burning records.
So here's a question for you. Does your wife hold out on music with you? Because people are stingy with music.
And
you guys live in the same house. And
me and my wife, it's an interesting relationship because I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean, our relationship is fine, by the way.
She is watching.
She's watching right now. No, it's interesting because.
And for those of you that don't know, his wife is also a disc jockey.
My wife is DJ Kiss, amazing DJ. She actually was the first one DJ for Puff and all these people. So like, I ended up doing it after. But it's interesting because she and I are both very competitive.
Oh really?
Like crazy competitive. So like. She'll like be in her room or playing like she'll play like a song like a little extra loud in her room. Just was waving me, but like, yo, what is that?
Or she'll drop an acapella.
Yeah, there's never that like, yo, babe, you need to have these records down. It's like, you'll play the record, or we'll be out and she's DJing and she'll drop some shit and be like, what is this? Oh, you don't got this? And she'll let it play for like a verse, like two verses, and I'll be like, what is this? Like, you don't got this? And then she'll give it to me.
That's
so
cool.
yeah.
So I think maybe we should have them come here and battle it out.
I wanted them back.
Oh please, man! I'm not trying to get into an argument with my wife. I'm trying not to. I defer to her, man. I let her do her thing, man. This is dope, man. What you guys are doing here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
really
for
dope.
coming down.
Yeah, man.
So let's talk about some venues that you played, some events that you did. What are some of the biggest events that you played?
The biggest events. So most recently, I guess, I did the Governor's Ball, which is the Academy Awards official after party. Me and my wife did that. Harvey Weinstein's Golden Globe party. I mean, since I've been in LA, I've done a lot of like Hollywood stuff.
When did you move to LA?
About a year ago.
Cool.
But I've been going to LA for the last 5 years, like on and off.
I feel like you're always in New York. You're just coming back and
forth. Yeah, I'm a New Yorker at heart, so I still have my New York residencies and clubs. Like I played Avenue, One Oak, all those places. I also play at Live, Atlantic City, at Murmur. I guess it's now Premiere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What else would I play? I'm at Studio Paris in Chicago, and One Oak, LA. Where else? That's about it.
So what's popping in LA right now?
LA, One Oak, LA is hottest club in LA. Yeah. But then, obviously like Tao and all those places are moving out there soon. But like, we've done a ton of stuff. Like we did a wedding. We did George Lucas's wedding. I've done Puff's birthday party a bunch of times. Did his New Year's Eve party. I just did a New Year's Eve party with Usher, opened for Usher for Samsung, which is insane. Nice. 2,000 people. So yeah, we do a lot of like private events, which is dope.
So how do you feel about nightlife? Like, how do you feel about working in like the whole bottle service, taking over nightlife? How do you feel about that?
To me, there was a point in time where the bottle service kind of like nights nightclub scene was dope. Like it was kind of like at its peak was like 2006, 2005. From there, I feel like the culture is kind of taking a downturn. I feel like, you know, it's partly the music, partly the crowd, partly because it's just the money that's being injected into it.
Yeah.
Like before, you had to be cool to get in the club. You know what I'm saying? But now anybody with a black card can get in. Any asshole can. No offense to no disrespect to Wall Street bankers. Take care of my money, please. Any asshole can get into the club now, and you know, be a dick and tell the DJ what to play.
Right.
I mean, you can't tell me what to play.
Yeah.
I don't even go to shit. But I feel like that's kind of so that you don't really. Most nightclubs lack diversity, and diversity is what kind of made New York clubs cool. Yep. That's what made people from LA and Miami and all over the country want to come to New York. That's what made Studio 54 hot. That's what made places like Spa and Life and Shine, and that's where all these, you know, all the current club guys like the Richie Kiwas and the Noah Tepperbergs and those guys, they came up in that era. The Mark Ronsons and the Stretches, all these people were literally working at the same spot at the same time. So like that's what made it hot. It was diverse. You know, but right now you don't see that. Like literally, you go into a club, it's just like mostly white people, mostly rich motherfuckers at tables, and models who don't know shit about music. So it's like you lack that. It lacks flavor.
Are you frustrated by maybe say the lack of music knowledge and education that some of these crowds have that you play for?
Not really. I think it's, you know, you just gotta kind of, you know, you kind of have to adjust to the times. Like there are crowds and there are people who do want to hear like different things. Like, you know, when I walk into, you know, let's say I walk into whatever commercial spot I'm playing, I know that I'm not playing, you know, Michael Jackson. I mean, even though Michael Jackson is pretty generic when it comes to like old music, like I know that this is not the crowd for that.
Yep.
They want to hear this. You know, even back in the day it was the same thing. So to me, what it is just like people don't want to be introduced to new things. I feel like people now have their iTunes. Music is accessible to everyone. You don't have to wait online for a CD anymore. So like now that you have iTunes and all these Spotify, whatever, you can create your own playlist. You have access to exclusive records. You can decide on what's hot. There's nobody can tell you. No DJ can tell you this is what's hot because everyone feels that they're a DJ.
Yep.
So nowadays it's like you have people coming to you. Do you have the new blah blah blah? Do you have this record? It's like, are you just asking me that because it just came out, or do you really want to hear the shit? You know what I mean?
You really want to hear it, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's the problem with clubs, with nightlife.
But it's just so, well, I think you make some really great points with like how it's all intertwined with the Spotify and Shazam and iTunes and plus satellite radio, and it has 100 stations.
Like it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just what it is.
Yes.
You know, like I can't. I'm not sitting here saying like that's wrong. Like you can't. You know what I mean?
I agree. And you have to be with that change.
You just gotta adjust to the times. Like, you know, whatever. Like, do people want to hear Brand Nubian right now? No. Do I like Brand Nubian? Yeah. So that doesn't mean they're wrong for not wanting to hear it.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
But there might be a party on a Tuesday night where you could play
but there may be
set.
but there's definitely parties that go on in the city somewhere that they may want to hear that. If I want to play there and not make any money, it's fine.
Yeah, where are these parties? Where are they?
It's a good point. It's a good question.
What are some DJs today that you like? Do you go out and listen to other DJs?
Oh yeah, I go out a lot. I mean, I used to go out a lot. I don't go out as much anymore. But when I do go out, there's certain guys I love to hear. Like I love, like, you know, obviously like the guys who, you know, my manager manages DGI. You know, the Jessies and Bells and Ruckuses and Politics and, you know, all those guys. My wife. But other than that, like Clark Kent, you know, DJ Scratch, DJ Spinner, DJ Vitale, whatever the fuck he's playing. I mean, like all the guys that, like, again, the guys that I came up with, like the Sinatras, all those dudes, like we all have a crooked, like we all came up together. So we're all going, you know, we're all in the same boat. So I love going to hear those guys. But, you know, I came up listening to like Rich Medina and Scratch and Clark Kent and all those guys. So, you know, there's the Originals party that goes on once a month on Fridays at Santos. So I go there. I just like going places where I get to hear something different, you know?
Yep.
Like other than what I'm playing. Like I want a different perspective on DJing a club.
Yeah.
Or DJing for people. You know.
See, that's the problem. Like you don't get that much because everybody's playing the same thing. Like everybody's just trying to keep it hot and fresh. Whatever's new, they're playing.
Yeah, and it's no fault. I don't fault anybody for that. Like I'm sure, like when you saw me at Avenue last night, I was playing literally trap music for 2 hours, 3 hours straight.
Yeah.
So like I don't fault any DJ for being like, yeah, I'm not gonna go to hit this nigga on on Monday. But like, you know, I just think that like, you know, I like to go to places that are just outside of the box, you know, not on the things that aren't mainstream, so I can hear something different.
Because it also inspires you. It
cleanses my ears.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You need that.
You can't listen to Future all day. I mean, you could.
I like.
But you may end up taking codeine and dying. But anyway.
So you're gonna get into a little set for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna DJ for y'all tonight.
What are you gonna play?
No idea.
You don't have no clue. You didn't set.
I don't really put a set.
No, you could do whatever you want.
Yep.
I didn't really put a set together. I have an idea. I feel like I want to play like classic hip hop, but like we'll see where it goes.
There's no boundaries.
I
here.
may play some Futures, but you never know.
Future's
play
okay.
whatever you like.
Dirty Sprite 2.
There's no bottle clients yet.
The bottle clients.
Not yet. Not yet, at least.
Not yet. Not yet.
If I'd known, I would have brought a whole bunch of people.
Well, next time.
Next time.
We'll get you and your wife here. You guys could battle.
Yep.
That would be dope.
And then we'll.
I
give
think
out,
she would like that.
We'll give out a prize.
And then you'll really see how much shit
She was joking with me because she used to drag me to IKEA and Redhook, and I used to hate coming to Redhook. And she's like, "Oh, you're in fucking Redhook right now? Really? Like, right by IKEA? Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in Redhook."
Dope.
I thought you didn't like Redhook. I'm like, "Yeah, it's all right." This is after 3 drinks, but you know.
All right, we're gonna take a 2-3 minute break, and then we get M.O.S on the turntables, and he's gonna play some music.
I'm gonna cool off. I'm sweating like a motherfucker right now.
And he's gonna have some more antipasto.
All right.
It's the cheese.
Peace.